Electronic Arts, EA, the company behind FIFA, Sims, Madden, F1, like they own a lot of sports titles, have been acquired by PIF, Silver Lake, Affinity Partners for $55 billion. The transaction represents the largest all-cash sponsored take-private investment in history, does it? Does it take inflation into account? But I thought to myself, why did this happen? Why? What is the point of this transaction? What happens now to all your games that EA owns and possibly to all the money you paid them and probably are gonna keep paying them? And what happens to their company? So let's try and understand in this video and try to break it down as simply and as quickly as possible. So the breakdown is quite simple. Their company has essentially will go private from 2027, I think. So here's the simple translation. EA has been acquired by PIF along with this Silver Lake and whatnot, $55 billion. This is like a huge deal. What does it represent in the long run? If you need to understand what it represents in the long run, it's very simple. There will be no EA stocks. They will be gone. There will be no public scrutiny. That will also be gone. Now, this sounds like a positive. Is it though? We don't really know yet until we don't see it. We can only assume till that point. But there's a whole thing, I read this whole thing and it's essentially just glorifying their new buyers. And I thought about like, why not look into their buyers? Who are their buyers? Who are PIF? Because actually I don't know much about, what is this? Silver Lake and Affinity Partners. I don't know much about them, but I do know about PIF because I studied them a bit. PIF is, if you want in a simple terms, it's the largest public fund in the country, in the world. It's like $1 trillion fund, which is backed by the Saudi government, and it's currently headed by MBS, their crown prince. And there's a few things I know about them. I know that the PIF actually had this Vision 2030, which they launched in, I think, 2015. I'm not really sure when it happened, but they had this Vision 2030 where they wanted to essentially move away from oil. So they wanted to use their investments and diversify, invest in different things. But it's mostly about sports, entertainment, tech, and now games as well. Like they have fully acquired Electronic Arts, but this was not like the first thing they acquired. They already did own 10% of it, and they also have stakes like in Nintendo, I think, Capcom. Probably, I'm not sure, like I have to check. They did acquire many things before. They also brought Uber for some money. I think they had a stake in that, and they are everywhere. They are everywhere. I've been watching F1 for a long time, and I have seen their presence now in F1 as well. So I know what they are essentially trying to do here. Oh yeah, they also own a Premier League team. So there's that. Now they own EA. So what is this Vision 2030 that the PIF is, trying to do? What is this Vision 2030? Their actual idea is like to shift away from oil and become this hub of tourism, entertainment, and tech. Like it's vague to me, but you can probably search and find it yourself. Like they're trying to turn this into like combination, some sort of neon Las Vegas city. Like they're trying to turn it into something that I genuinely don't understand what they're trying to do. But they're trying to move away from oil. By 2030, they want their fund to own many diverse investments, and essentially that's what they're doing. But as I was reading this through, this is the part that is important, the transaction details. What exactly is happening here? The transaction was approved by EA's board of directors and is expected to close by Q1 financial year 27. So that would be 2026. It is expected to close in financial year 27 would be 26. I know it's a bit confusing, but that's how it's confusing. Finance is confusing. Following this close of transactions, EA's common stock will be no longer listed in any of the public markets. Obviously, that's what's happening. If you want to understand it in like a much easier way, imagine like EA till now was a community center, and now it has turned into a mansion. Now you're not allowed to go in there. Okay, so it's very private now. What is this? An equity investment of approximately $36 billion and $20 billion of debt financing, fully and solely committed by JP Morgan Chase Bank. So this $20 billion is like the question here. Technically, all money is debt, but this specific $20 billion here is the debt that needs to be serviced. It needs to be paid back. What is the point of this debt? How is this debt gonna be serviced? Who's gonna pay for it? I mean, we have already experienced tariffs, so I guess if you're a smart cookie, you know the answer. The person that's gonna service the debt is it's you. It's you and me. Yeah, we're gonna service this debt. It's gonna be the customer. This is where I sort of have an opinion of what they're going to do. I'm gonna hold that to the end, but let's be a bit more, what's the phrase? We're gonna be a bit more subjective here, like we don't know what's gonna happen. Now, ideally, this 36 and $20 billion is what is the combination of it. And you, the customer, ideally has to be part of it as well, because at the end of the day, you're earning the money. But I don't really understand this $20 billion of debt, because to me, what happens if EA has like a really bad year? Like they have a really bad financial year. Like this deal could go to Kingdom Come, it's gonna be like really bad deal if EA just has one bad year. But, let's look at the positives first. EA might finally be able to develop some good games. So they could take their time with the products that they make. They could resurrect some old dead IPs like Mass Effect. Maybe they make a Dragon Age that actually is good. They could do a lot. They can now take their time because they don't have to open up their report, come see it, read it, whatever you like in it. Now, they still have to do those, I think, reports, but it will be more internal rather than external. But as I told you, this $20 billion debt is not giving me any hope. It's actually making me think the opposite. But let's talk about the positives as we are. They have a lot more time on their hand. They have a lot more stuff that they can do with this. But every time I read this $20 billion of debt financing, if you're investing $55 billion into something, you're gonna want that money back. It doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna want that money back. So I don't think they're gonna take a bit more risks. I would be surprised if they do. That would be amazing. There are already a few risks. So the creative teams could just leave under pressure. They would feel like, yeah, we don't want to be associated with this, so we're gonna leave. People could be preparing for their studios being shut down. That could happen. They could be making new portfolios, showing their work, looking for a job in new places. That could also happen. There could be a political backlash, which is there one? I don't know. People already are taking the moral high ground because, they believe we shouldn't be associated with this company. Or basically nothing could happen. EA could be as it is right now. They could essentially continue the way they are now, except a lot more monetizations, which is what I think will happen. Because whenever I read this $20 billion of debt, my gut is telling me one thing at that point. This is my opinion, specifically my opinion. I think they will push harder into esports. They will start hosting esports events because EA has a lot of sports titles. They are gonna host esports events in Saudi, and they'll probably go more smartphone-based games. That could happen because they have a lot more monetization. Smartphone owns a lot of gaming. I think it's more than half of the finance comes from smartphone games. Revenue comes from the smartphone games. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But what you should expect is the games that you're already playing are going to be there, but just a lot more monetized. Expect a lot more FIFA packs, a lot more Sims DLCs. Expect a lot more, Apex skins. And because I think this $20 billion debt has to be serviced, and to service that, you're gonna get a lot more microtransactions, and a lot more microtransactions means a lot more money is gonna go to essentially reducing this debt, and that's what you're gonna do, like the customer. So what is the end result of this? So I was reading here, in the fiscal year 25, EA posted GAP net revenue of 7.5 billion. Actually, they could pay it themselves within 5 years. 5 to 10, I think, 15. I think 5 to 10 years they could pay it themselves if they continue on their current path. If this net revenue is correct, $7.5 billion, they could probably pay it in 5 to 10 years. There's also that. So there's also the whole glorified description of these companies. I mean, it's a EA statement, so take this with a pinch of salt. But as I said, they might work on new IPs. Huge emphasis on the might. Don't take that so positively. We're humans, we try to see things positively often, and then we get, fisted by them in the back. So let me know what you think. Let me know, do you think like EA is gonna be EA? I think it's gonna be the same as always, just a lot more monetization, because that $20 billion is telling me that no, we have to somehow service that debt, and I think that servicing is gonna be done by us, because if my math is correct here, $7.5 billion net revenue fiscal year 25. So that tells me, like it's gonna happen within 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's just simple math. So that might be the reason why they left it like these 20 billion as like that. Within 5 years, they could pay it back at their current pace, 5 to 10 years. We're gonna see. So you tell me, what do you think about this move? Because as far as I think, my opinion is, it's going to be a lot more monetization. It's going to continue the way it is right now, because PIF has this approach: whatever they own, whatever they buy, they usually tend to leave it alone, and they try to enjoy the profits as they're continuing. And if some things do need investment, they do invest into those a bit more. Like, they are more long-term approach towards things. And I know there's a whole humanitarian issue that people are focusing on. Then we should focus on a lot more different things that are happening in the world rather than them alone. But the point is, these things, these games are going to be a lot more monetized, I think, personally. On the side of PIF, I think it's their bet on, entertainment. Gaming is entertainment, because I see gaming as a very volatile market. It's not a market I would invest into. Tomorrow, you're going to enjoy a normal AAA title that is going to come out in 3 years, and all of a sudden there's an indie title that does the same thing 10 times better, is 10 times cheaper, and the AAA game is gone to hell. Like, this happens. Gaming is a market that is based on taste, and when the taste is very volatile, like, you don't really tend to invest into it. So I don't know how they expect it to go without any hiccups, but we'll see. I mean, time will tell. Let me know what's gonna happen to EA Sports. Do you think it's gonna be the same company, or it's gonna turn into Tencent of the West? They're gonna become the second gods of monetization. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Till then, take care of yourself. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.